Hello and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jarrod, and joining me tonight are Sean and Claire. How are you going, Claire?
Good, yeah. All good over here. What about
How are
you?
you,
How
Sean?
well?
Yeah, getting by.
Yeah, I've had better weeks. Could be worse, But yeah, just still on a bit of a downer from the weekend, but as what it is. Back to school as well, back to work.
Yeah, so what's new with you, Claire? How did you pull up after the weekend?
I've just about recovered from the disappointment. I think that was the main emotion for me, was disappointment, and just such a letdown. Such a letdown on so many levels. Almost forgot we were playing tonight, actually, until something popped up on Instagram to tell me it was match day. So
Yeah, I actually did forget as well. I didn't even have it on the run sheet for this podcast until about 10 minutes ago. So thank you, the Celtic social media team, for actually not doing a happy birthday message for once.
What, is it nobody's birthday today? What?
I haven't seen it. It might be, but, we probably get about 6 of them during the day. So let's just not worry about that just yet. But, yeah, talking about the game on the weekend, it was, I was so G'd up for the game last week. I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to flog them 4-0. Or 4-1 because they'll get their penalty. Even we went live and did our first ever live podcast before the game, which is live on our YouTube channel, our Facebook group, and on Twitter. And, yeah, it was a good show. I really enjoyed doing that. It was me, Sean, and Liam on there. So, yeah, it was a good chat. But then the game was the letdown. I think the most disappointing thing for me was the lack of fight from the team. I don't know.
there just wasn't any. There wasn't any fight. There was nothing. They didn't want to be there. That's what it looked like to me. But if any of you two can explain to me how a team who had that one cup to play for all season has let their fans down in so many ways, cannot get themselves up for that game. If anyone can explain that, feel free.
I thought there was some fight in the second half. I mean, throughout 90 minutes, there were some players that didn't show any fight, but there was a lot more from others in the second half. Christie, I forgot he was even playing in the second half, so I'm not going to give him any praise at all. He can go whenever he wants. Stephen Welsh scunnered my betting because he didn't know what direction the goal was. To be fair to him, he did get pulled back by Helander, which probably should have been a penalty in the first half. And that defending for those two goals wasn't ideal, was it, to be honest? If you got 36-year-olds scoring an overhead kick with space in the 6-yard box, there's 3 guys standing spare. I mean, just have a look around, do you know what I mean? Have some awareness, situational awareness. I don't know. If they've been told to stand in those positions, I don't. What do you think, Jarrod? What's going on?
Yeah, it was pathetic defending. Both of their goals. There was the difference between the two teams on the day was both teams had created chances. They took theirs, we didn't. And I don't think they were rattled at all. When we come through, and if we had 10 shots on goal, we're probably only getting one. One would have gone in. They're taking 5. They're probably going to get at least 3 or 4 on target and 1 or 2 in, which is what it was for the game. So, yeah, our defense was average. It's like the way I looked at it was when that overhead kick went in, if you looked at it and thought, okay, that's a 10-pin bowling thing, it's like some 2-year-old's gone bumper bowling and just dropped the ball down there and there's defenders are everywhere. There's no structure. There's no set thing. It's like here's a pin here, a pin here, a pin there, and the ball somehow got through. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, defense was terrible there. And then John Joe Kenny, own goal. Like, come on, mate. We're wearing green and white. You're not playing for Everton. Your 2 games that you played against Rangers, you've absolutely been shithouse. And, yeah, he can go.
We highlighted him before the game on the previous show as well. Said that he was a liability. But to be fair, we did say Laxalt had a blinder in the previous Rangers games, but he certainly did not this time. He had an absolute stinker. Joe Aribo absolutely turned him inside out. He made Nathan Patterson look like a good player. And now all the Huns in the media are absolutely wanking over themselves to get him in the Scotland team for the Euros. Like, they're honestly, Specsavers are going to have to get brought into the BBC to get everyone fitted for glasses because they're going to wank themselves blind over Nathan Patterson. Can't get away from it.
He did make Nathan Patterson look good. I like Laxalt, but oh my god, he was rubbish. He was very, very bad. But that's the thing, though. When you look at, I don't like saying it. I mean, looking at Patterson, I would say he's a distinctly average young right back. However, obviously he's been kind of flung in to replace what's his face, Tavernier or whatever. But then we shouldn't be making a young boy with an experience like that look that good. And that again shows lack of knowledge and interest and just pig laziness, in my opinion. But if one more person mentions him to the Euros, honestly, Sean's right. Like, over here, it's mental. Like, they're saying, you know, bring him in. He's this. He's strong. He's got fight. He's got that. Aye, okay. So do all the other ones, with the exception of Christie. But
who are you going to drop in the squad? That's the real question.
I don't.
Sorry.
Is Stevie Clark going to drop Christie, though? That's the thing. Like, he seems to, for whatever reason, kiss his ass. Do you know what I mean? I don't really know why.
He puts in the shift for Scotland.
He's a right back, isn't he? So if you've got Steve Clark's, you know, best bud in O'Donnell at right back, do you really see him dropping O'Donnell for Patterson? No.
It would take an injury, a big injury to somebody for him to go in that squad, I think.
Yeah.
But if you think what we're talking about as well is Laxalt making Patterson look good, which is what we're saying, what we're implying there is that Patterson's attacking play was good. If you think back to every Celtic chance which was created, they pretty much all came down his side. And, you know, there was one point where Patterson was like on the opposite end of the pitch, and I was watching the KO one just because Celtic TV drives me mental sometimes. And Alan McCoy was just like, "Oh, Patterson, amazing tackle." I'm like, he is about 50 yards away from where he should be. I was like, what is going on here? Why is he praising him? He is so out of position. His defensive nous was not there, and he was getting, like, it was all coming down his side. Is the point I would make. I don't know if that's because Forrest was absent from the other side, so the focus was switched, but he was not defending, you know. And yeah, Laxalt made them look good and by letting him have a free rein. But you know, if he plays for Scotland, we're going to leak goals down that side.
I had an interesting thought during the game. I put out a tweet going like Laxalt's is being made to look second rate by Patterson. And some of the comments were like, well, he is second rate, blah, 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 this sort of shit. And off the back of that, I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm actually sitting here going, can we bring back Bolingoli after everything that happened early in the season? There was one moment there where I thought that, and then I've actually wanted to just bitch slap the living shit out of myself. Wake the fuck up. No, Bolingoli's done. He's dead to us. But that's how bad it was in that first half. I was like, bring back Izagiri even. Jeez, that's how it was just terrible.
You'd rather have Mo Kamara?
Maybe not that bad.
Come on. Honestly, Mo Kamara would have done better than Laxalt in that first half.
Bring back Lustig and bring back Izagiri. There's your fullbacks. Just bring them back just to show them how it's done, if nothing else.
Based on that first half on Sunday, I would have rather had Mo Kamara and Paul Telfer at fullbacks.
God.
Bring back Stuart Gray as well.
You know.
No, how can we get? I just don't know how Laxalt, someone who's played for, you know, at AC Milan and whatever in this country, can be shown up by an 18-year-old bam from wherever he's from. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it gets worse. At the last World Cup, he was in the World Cup team, like 11 team of the tournament at left back.
Yeah. Was it left wing back or
left wing back or whatever? But yeah, he was still in that team. So, like, I don't know. I'm looking at it going, the performance of the fullbacks was rubbish. Lack of fight. We touched on the missed shots of Stephen Welsh. There was other times where it looked like we were playing going forward, where we were wanting to play for ourselves rather than the team. Like, there was at least 3 or 4 times Edouard could have slipped the ball through to. One was to Christie, so it would have probably ended up outside the stadium if he took a shot. but the other two were like, one was to Calmac, one was to Turnbull, that if you made that extra pass, they were wide open, one-on-one with McGregor, and he's on the other side of the goal. So, I don't know, we just looked a little selfish up front as well. I don't know what you thought of that.
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I actually think we had better chances than them. You know, like, so what was the difference? Is it a psychological thing? Are we just not making, I don't know, like, is it just because the difference of the goalkeepers? Is it because Philip Hollander can pull people back and get away with it twice? And then Joe Aribo gets done for it the third time? Probably, racism, But the white guy gets white guy gets away with it, and the black guy gets done. But no, like, I don't know, man. I genuinely think honestly, I think it's a psychological issue for the Celtic team now. They're psychologically damaged from the previous games, and we really need that fresh mentality from a new manager, from a new setup, from a big turnover in the squad. It really needs a line drawn under it,
Yep.
I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on there too. It's looks mentally gone. Some of the players just look like, they're mentally scarred. Others look just checked out, like, oh, well, we got through this. Now there's 4 games left or whatever it is, and then, we can have a holiday and then plot our next move. So, yeah.
Yeah, after we performed well in that one each game, we were all like, yes, this is our chance. Now we outperformed them. This cup game is where we draw the line and we start building for next season. And turns out, nope, Rangers just weren't really bothered in that one each game. And they showed up this weekend when it mattered. And they didn't outplay us by any means, but they outperformed us on the one stat that counts. And, they showed our defence for what it is.
Yep. A patch job. That's pretty much what our defence has been all season. Anyway, we'll move on then, because you just touched on it then. So what's the next move for Celtic? I want to know what you guys think the next move we need is. Now Don Mackay's in the building, do we appoint a director of football first? Do we appoint a manager? What do you think is the next step for Celtic? And we'll just keep it to that topic, because we'll flow on from there, talking about individual players a bit later on. So over to you, Sean.
I think because the morale is so low, obviously a director of football, hierarchically speaking, a director of football makes sense as the first appointment. But morale is so low, and retail and season tickets matter, not just for saving face, but for literally having money to pay for players next season. So they matter for that reason. And for that reason, I think a big name manager has to be, whether it's the next step or not, it has to be the first thing on Dominic Mackay's agenda. Now, if Dominic Mackay goes away and gets Eddie Howe to agree, so maybe he speaks to Eddie Howe and goes, right, you're coming in. Who do you want as director of football? Because we're going to announce them first, just to save face. Fine. But they're not going to get that morale boost and that faith back from the fans unless they have a big name managerial appointment. I honestly, Fergal Harkin, I want, like, because of his Man City connections, I was like, right, big club, big name. But then when I found out that he was just mates with Dermot Desmond, I'm like, oh, well, that kind of brought him down in my estimation. So if he's the first name to come in, I'm not going to be inspired.
So for Harkin, Sean, who would you want?
I can answer that question honestly. Like that kind of touches on the point I'm making, is that fans are not going to be inspired by the director of football, no matter who it is. They're going to be inspired by the head coach, the new one.
What do you think, Claire?
I'm in agreement with Sean to a point. I think it needs to be the manager first. if you're looking at it from a business side, like what Sean said from season tickets, director of football, when the names first got brought out, I'm kind of thinking, I've heard of him, but what does he do at the club? You don't think a director of football, you think a manager. So I think they need to get their finger out and get a manager announced soon. The Fergal Harkin thing, obviously he's pals with Desmond or whatever the situation is there, but obviously then that gives, what do they do? Do they appoint him and then go to Kieran and say, really sorry, we wanted Eddie Howe, but your pal's in now, so on you come and be the manager? I don't think the fans would be overly impressed with that. I'm just hoping for, I just want some kind of announcement over the next week or so.
What's your thoughts on the manager we've been linked with today?
Oh, the not so special one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. If he comes up, do we call him the Fenian one?
Do you know? I don't know. I found Spurs so boring, though. I honestly found Spurs so boring to watch for ages. And some of Mourinho's decisions were baffling. But I don't doubt his intelligence as a coach. I just don't know. They would get the press talking up here. I tell you that right now. I mean, the media over here would go nuts.
That's what I'm thinking as well, Claire. Like, I've got mates who are Tottenham fans, Man United fans, Chelsea fans. The Chelsea fans love him. Man United and Tottenham fans, not so much, but he could organise a defence. So that's one thing. But then it goes against the way we normally play. We like to play attacking football. He likes to sit back and hit on the counter, so it doesn't really suit us. But then at the same time, can you imagine some of those journalists up there walking into a press conference, saying the stupid shit that they normally would say to our managers, and Mourinho just sitting there and smiling and just copping it from them? Or no chance in hell. He'll put them in their place. So
he'd completely take the piss out of them. He would totally give as good as he gets, but you know that yourself in interviews that he's done. Like, he's quite humorous in a way, shall we say. He's got a very dry sense of humour. I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against it personally. I wouldn't be against Mourinho coming in. Don't overly see it happening because Celtic don't spend money. However, I wouldn't be overly against it personally. So,
well, he owes this one to Porto.
Sorry,
he owes this one.
Oh yeah,
he does. Yeah.
I was thinking that a lot of fans probably won't forgive that 2003. But I was even out with that 2003. I still think it's a double-edged sword. Is that the right term? I don't know.
Yeah,
either way,
no one situation type thing.
No, well, I guess, okay, so that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say there's a positive and a negative, and it cuts both ways.
Okay.
As in, his gravitas and reputation increases the caliber of player that we can attract, if that makes sense. But also, any players that have any kind of ego / self-respect / an agent whispering in their ear are not going to be, like, he clashes with big egos of players. And the rumour is that there was as much as 10 Tottenham players wanted to leave, and that was why he got sacked. I think that might not be as much of an issue at a smaller team like Celtic, which might be why it wasn't much of an issue at Porto and Chelsea, who were at the time a relatively new to success. Yeah, so I think there's the two sides to that. Yes, gives us more gravitas, attract better players, but also more chance of conflict with those better players.
Well, he's better off as the big fish in the small pond sort of thing. Like, when he was at Inter, he was the highest earner. He was big man on campus. He ran the show. When he was at Chelsea, same deal. First time. When he was at Porto, same deal. At Man United, when he's got flair players around him, like, look at some of the guys he had there that it fell off the cliff under him. No, that wasn't ideal. You look at him at Tottenham, Dele Alli. What's happened to him recently? You look at him at Chelsea. He had guys like Lukaku. He had guys like De Bruyne and Salah. And what happened to all of them? They all left, and they're all probably top 20 players in the world, being honest. So he constantly has a clash with someone. The positive for us is we're pretty much going to have no squad there, and it's a clean slate for him when he comes in next year. So those sort of players, I could see him and Edouard just clash in something chronic if he was there, or him and Griff. So,
that'd be amazing. Griff versus
That'd be an amazing fight, wouldn't it? That'd be fab. I'd love to watch that.
It'd be brilliant to see, but it'd be like watching people just clawing each other's eyes out and stuff. It'd be some savage shit going on there. But yeah, it's with him, he comes in, he's got probably a 3-year shelf life. That's it. So do you do that by the time to set up your structures off the pitch, or do you go down the other way, like we're saying, the director of football and managerial appointment, bring in Eddie Howe, and then if we were to bring in David Webb, who has been a director of football at Huddersfield, at Bournemouth, at a couple of German clubs, Hamburg, he was there, someone like that to come in who's worked with Eddie Howe before and has actually admitted on another podcast or YouTube channel that he's actually interested in the role, maybe that's the way to go. There's a couple of options there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
For me, there's no question I'd rather have Howe. But, compared to all the other candidates mentioned, Mourinho, I'd rather have him over Keane or Kennedy, or I can't even think who else has been mentioned, to be honest. Favre. I know you quite fancy Favre, Jarrod, but I don't know much about him, so I can't really say, to be honest.
Yeah, Favre, David Wagner, and then we start getting into everyone else. They're my guys I'd be going with. Howe, Favre, David Wagner, one of those three. There's no way we're getting Jesse Marsch. Nagelsmann will be leaving Leipzig, so he'll be going up there next year.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, and we appoint a manager, no matter what happens, which we've got to do soon enough, my question to you is, which players should we keep and who should we move on? So I'll go through the first team squad, and all I want is just a keep or punt. That's all I want to hear from you on them.
So just before I give my one-word answers, just to be clear, we're saying this in the context of not whether they're shit or not, but whether it's time for them to move on / they are shit.
Correct.
So even if it's a good player, time to go kind of thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. So if we got an offer, if they're out of contract, would you re-sign them? Or if you got a good offer for them, would you let them go? That's pretty much what we're playing off. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so what we'll do is we'll go through a whole position, like goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards. Then we'll just have a general chat about the overall position after we've gone through each individual set, okay?
Good.
So goalkeepers, Barkas.
Go.
Cunt.
Bain.
So can you just be clear that you said punt with a P?
I wanted to say the other one, but I'm trying to be semi-ladylike here,
Yeah.
Scott Bain.
Scott Bain, keep.
Keep.
I didn't even answer. I'll punt both of them. Connor Hazard.
Keep.
Keep.
I'd be keeping him. And then there's out on loan, we have, I think it's Ross Doohan as well as a goalkeeper.
Go.
Go.
Yeah, you can go as well. So in the goalkeeper position, a couple of you said Scott Bain can stay. A couple of us said Hazard could stay. So realistically, we need to go and sign at least a first team starting quality goalkeeper.
Agreed, yes. Those two that I said keep as the back. I'm satisfied with them as backup goalkeepers. I'm not satisfied with one of them as number one.
With Hazard, for me, I would keep him, but if we did sign another goalkeeper, I'd put him out on loan to give him the experience that he needs. Potentially, like keep Bain as the number 2 goalie, and then maybe put Hazard to somewhere that would give him the match experience that he's wanting and what he's openly said he wants the game's time. So I don't overly see getting that. Yeah,
you've said it, Claire, in our group chat that you want David Marshall to come in as a goalkeeper. Yep. So if he was to come in, then I'd be like, let's put Hazard out on loan, but I want him out on loan within the Scottish Premier League or you can go down the Championship in England, one of those two. So it's at least you get a lot of games down there.
So
You'd want him in the SPL for me, I think, no?
Yeah,
I'd rather him.
yeah. Or an English Championship, I think you mean. Do you mean English Championship, Jarrod?
Yeah, English Championships or
Okay,
event. Yeah. Because a
Do
lot
a
of
swap
games.
deal for Craig Gordon and take Craig Gordon back from Hearts and give them Hazard for a year.
You'll probably you'll probably end up at Hibs on loan if he goes out in the SPFL because Marciano's leaving anyway at the end of the season.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So a quick thought that just popped into my head. Do you think we should be going down the route that the big English teams take, which is that you keep two? So every big team really needs three goalkeepers that can come into your first team and play. But should we be taking the route that the big English teams take, which is that your young keepers go out on loan, which you guys have both just mentioned, but then you also bring in a third. So you bring in your third choice goalkeeper is someone that's in their late 30s, playing at a smaller team, looking for a final payday. Like when, do you know what I'm talking about? Like Man United will bring in like the Fulham.
Yeah, when Rodgers brought in that goalkeeper from Nottingham Forest, when he came in, I can't remember the guy's name, but the invincible one, Boris De Vries, that's the guy.
De Vries, But yeah, like is that a route we should be taking? Are we a big enough team that we can offer wages to bring in a veteran as our third choice?
Depends who your second choice.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It depends who your sub goalie is in the first place.
Yeah, because you'd be looking at, I don't know, who's Aberdeen's reserve goalkeeper? Because that's the sort of thing you'd be looking at, isn't it?
I like the Aberdeen goalkeeper, actually, Joe Lewis. I think he's quite
but who's the backup?
solid.
You're not going to get Joe Lewis on loan. So who's the backup?
Ask me once I see the team for tonight. I'll find out.
Is it Jim Layton?
Oh, God, probably he's still there.
I think he is actually the coach there.
Yes. Him and Barry Robson, I think, are still kicking about there, are they not? Or is he Dundee United or something? I forget.
Would not have a clue.
Here you go. Gordon Marshall is listed as the coach for the goalkeepers. Their backup is... Oh, they've got a lone goalkeeper as their backup. So I guess not. Yeah, I guess that kind of scunners that idea. You know what? That's probably what the problem is. Every SPFL team has a lone goalkeeper as their backup.
Yeah. All right, so we'll jump on to defenders now. So I'll start with the guys out on loan. So Jack Hendry.
Oh, keep.
Go.
I'd keep him. Manny Perez.
Go.
Go.
Who? And go. Bolly Bolingoli.
Go.
Go.
Don't even let him back in the door to empty his locker. His card is marked. Okay, and then we've got Christopher Julian.
Stay. Keep.
Greg Taylor.
Keep.
Keep.
Shane Duffy.
Go.
Go.
John Joe Kenny.
Go.
Please go.
I heard on another podcast, I can't remember which one it was, they said John Joe Kenny is Everton's Anthony Ralston.
I mean, well, he is the third choice right back, so
yeah. Christopher Aya.
Go. Yeah, with an asterisk. Go.
Go with a heavy heart on my part. If we could afford to keep him. But realistically speaking, he's going to go.
Yeah, I'm the same there. If he signs a new deal, we keep him. If not, bite the hand off for an offer over 20.
I don't think his value will ever be any higher than it is now.
Yeah. We'll get 15 to 20 for him.
Yeah.
Anthony Ralston.
Go.
Go.
I'd keep him.
I was 50-50 on it, but just
I know what you're thinking though. You're thinking go, but on the basis of keeping them as like an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd keep him only for the fact that if we got Taylor and we'll have Ralston, who's going to play in that position for the early? If we don't bring anyone in early on straight away, who's going to be there for those qualifiers? We need to have some sort of defense.
Ayer will be out there if he's still there.
I'd keep him, and then if we get to the end of the window and we brought others in, then he can go.
Yeah, there's no value to putting him out on loan again. We know what he is now.
Yep. Stephen Welsh.
Keep.
And can we give him a decent number next season?
Hey, look, Callum McGregor still on 42.
Yeah, but 57, like, come on.
Forrest
So
49.
random, innit?
Yeah,
James Forrest 49.
McGeady had 46 for ages as well.
It's the
At least
modern
he's
game.
not wearing number 93 like Diego.
Laxalt,
I don't know where I am on the pitch, Laxalt. So what about old mate Laxalt?
Go.
Go, fine, go.
It's going to cost 6 million, Claire. Do you want him?
That was a wrench for me to say that, but yeah, I think he needs to go. I mean, go, just go.
He's done for me. Time is up. I would not be playing him the rest of the season. All the lone players, other than Kenny, because we have no one. I don't want to have to play Ralston, but all the lone guys shouldn't be playing the rest of the season.
You might see Ralston tonight. I don't know the team yet, but I wouldn't be surprised because Kennedy said he was going to play some of the kids, I think.
Good. That's what we need to do. Play the guys who will be there next season.
We don't have anything to lose, so why not?
We can't drop out a second. We can't get into first. So what's it matter? Give everyone a couple of games.
100%.
All right. And one last guy. He's listed on the club website as a midfielder, but he plays the majority of the time at defence. Is near Biton.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm the way you were with Laxalt, Claire, is the way I am with Biton. Like I look at him and go, I think he's run his course in terms of how long he's been at the club. But you do want some of that institutional knowledge there. If there's going to be such a massive turnover, you want to keep some people there. So I'd keep him for one more year. That's it.
He's versatile enough that I'm not saying there's going to be a massive injury crisis, but like if there was a crisis of injuries and you had the versatility of he can come in and play in the middle or in the back line, then that's an option. It kind of kills two birds with one stone a wee bit, even just for a year.
Yeah,
I can't remember how long he's actually been at the club. To be honest, I forget.
Must be pushing for a testimonial.
He's an old head though, and maybe we need that. Maybe just while all this nonsense is going on, all the change, all the reshuffling, somebody like what Jarrod said, someone that's got that kind of. I've seen all these managers come and go. I've seen all these people come and go. This is how Celtic works. This is the kind of core of what we need to do.
There you go. 8 years.
Wow,
8 years.
really?
Yeah.
Now I feel like a prick saying he gets one more year because then he'll be a year short of his
Give him
testimonial.
2 years. Go on.
Give him 2. Give him his testimonial. He's earned it. All right, midfielders. Marian Shved.
Keep.
Go.
I'd keep him because he's doing well over in Belgium. And who else do we have at that position other than Forrest? We need someone there.
We have
Olivia
him, shall not be
Cham.
mentioned.
And Cham, I'm going to be controversial here and say keep.
Go.
Yeah, get rid. Go.
I think he might come back with his tail between his legs.
Yeah, but he's only 1 year left on his deal.
Oh yeah, if he's sorry, I'd expect him to sign a new contract. But if he signs a 1 year extension, keep. If he doesn't, then piss off. But yeah, I think he's got some. He needs to prove himself, and he needs to, and we can exploit that if we get him to sign a 1 year extension.
Next one is Luke O'Connell.
Keep.
And Ewan Henderson. The wee Hendo.
Nah, go.
Go.
Yeah, I agree with you. He can go.
I would
Whether it's
accept somebody
onside.
saying keep if they could tell me what position he plays in midfield.
That's what I was about to say.
That's why I said go.
He can go, but how long's he on his contract? I don't know. And for me, it's like, well, do we keep him but then loan him out for a year to kind of see what his position is? Or do we just cut the losses and get on with it?
Where did he play against Lille? Was he? I forget.
Left wing.
But then there's other games he's come on at left back or whatever it was.
And he's played centre mid as well. He's came on at centre mid before. I've seen him play there. So
yeah. And then you look at his brother, like he didn't really get a shot, and then he's did well at Hibs, and then he's gone off to Italy and he's doing well over there. So I kind of don't want to cut our nose off to spite our face sort of thing when he's Scottish talent and you've got to have a certain amount in your squad for Europe as well.
I don't think he's not doing any better than Turnbull is. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't, don't.
Well, he's not going to out Turnbull unless for any reason.
Yeah, like I'm talking about. Sorry, the one that's in Italy. I forgot his first name now. Liam, yeah. Like every time he gets up to Serie A, he gets transferred back down to Serie B. So like he rips up in Serie B and then gets, Player of the Year and then promoted and then straight back down after 6 months. So that's his level.
He's a yo-yo player. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, other midfielders. I'll say Bruni, but we already know what's going on there.
Yeah, sadly he's gone, and I would have liked him to stay in a coaching capacity.
Yeah.
Same.
It's going to be weird, no Bruni leading the team out first home game of the season. I might have to say to someone in the group chat, I'm not crying, you're crying.
That'll be me that's in tears at the first game of next season. I've already got to thinking about it.
Ismailia Sorrow. Keep and hands to play every game the rest of this season.
Yep.
Turnbull.
Keep.
If anyone says punt, you're a knob. Ryan Christie.
Go.
Joby.
Get out whatever money we can get for him. I think anything that's like 8 figures, we'll take it. If we can get 10, 12 million for him, I'd be happy with that. A couple of years ago.
I think you're being quite optimistic there.
I'd take 7.
Same.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to fundraise, for the new manager.
Yeah.
You're trying to give a helping hand there, Jarrod,
If we say it enough, I'm going the mainstream media in Scotland. If I say it enough, it's truthful. Like they keep saying that Ryan Kent's a 15 to 20 million pound player. So if they keep saying it, and people think it's a fact, then if I keep saying that about Christie, then it's a fact. It's the same logic.
It's true.
True.
I can't argue with that. I keep saying Rangers have won 55 titles.
There you go. I found it. I figured out the soundboard this time. Tom Rogic.
Keep.
Go.
You really said keep, Sean.
Yeah, I'm saying keep, yeah.
He's adamant. I can see his face. He's adamant. He's sticking to it.
Wow. Okay.
Do you want me to show you the background of my phone?
I'm 100% thinking that Rogic needs Rogic needs a change of scenery. Love him as a player. Don't wish he just would stay forever, but I wish he was the player he was two years ago plus. Like the last couple of years, he's barely done much, and I think a change is as good as a holiday for him.
If Rogic told me he wanted to have sex with me, I wouldn't even ask him if he wants lube. I would just say yes.
I wish I had a boob.
There's a man crush. There's a man crush going on there. I'm just going to leave you to that one, Sean.
Okay. Mikey Johnson.
Keep.
I'd keep him because who else are we going to have at that position? The position's his next season because the next guy I doubt will be back, Alanusi.
Go,
I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm quite reluctant to say that, but yeah, I suppose.
If he was our
I'm
player,
purely saying that though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if he's our player, I'd
exactly.
say keep. But I'm not saying 5 million for that inconsistency. If he was a Scottish kid that was 23, I'd be like, yeah, keep him, brilliant. But he's a Swiss international that's contracted to another team, so I'm not willing to pay 5 million for that level of inconsistency and no future resale value.
100%. That's what my thoughts were as well. Like, he's been good for us. The amount of goals he's contributed will be hard to replace, but next man up. Like, he's not our player. The money they're going to want. We spent 5 million on a couple of players this season, and they've been absolute rubbish. I don't want to waste another 5 million.
Yeah, this is 2021. A player's value is not relative just to their ability.
It's more their contract plus their ability.
Well, yeah, what is their ability? Like 50% of it or something? I don't know. There's so much comes into it,
Okay, here's my most controversial one. Callum McGregor. I'll jump in first here and say what I said to you guys beforehand. I think he's struggling with the 60 games a season that he's played for the last 4 years. I think he's, to me, he looks a bit jaded and burnt out, and I think he may be one of those guys that if an offer comes in, and if, say, Rodgers at Leicester is linked to him again, he may actually want to take up that and see something new, reinvigorate his career and go somewhere he's not going to have to play so many games again. So if an offer came in for him over £20 million because of the length of his contract, as you were just saying, Sean, plus his skill, I'd say, yep, he can go. Well, best of luck to you. Thanks for everything you've done.
Yeah, my instinct was keep, but based on what you've said, you've in a short space of time convinced me that to go.
Go with, good wishes and stuff. I've got nothing against the guy, but needs a change.
Like, if he wants to stay and be a one-club player and all that, I'm happy for him to stay. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to push him out the door. Like, if no offer comes in, great. I'm happy to keep him. He'll be a great player for us. If an offer comes in and he wants to go, then I won't be upset if he does go. So I suppose it's a watch this space.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only untouchable player, in my opinion, in this squad, James Forrest. He stays.
Keep.
Yep.
Padlock him to his chair, whatever. He's not going anywhere.
Retires at Celtic.
Yep.
Or at Aberdeen, like Scott Brown.
No, not Aberdeen. He has to stay home. All right, so on to the strikers. So, just for shits and giggles, Bakun Issouf Bayo.
Keep.
Keep.
I keep because we're running low on numbers.
His highlights keep popping up on Twitter, and he's looking like a player.
He's done all right, actually, from what I can see.
He still runs like a baby giraffe, though. Like, seriously. Have you ever seen one get up and they run and their legs are just everywhere? And that's him running around all over the pitch. He just looks so uncoordinated running, but he scores goals.
I put him in the same box as Marian Fed. The two of them come back, they have one more chance, and they sink or swim.
Yep. Happy days then. Lee Griffiths.
Go.
Keep on the basis he can screw his head on and stay fit. But I don't think I'm being realistic, so I think from a purely change of scenery point of view and whatever, then go. But with very much reluctance from me, that one.
I will pick what you just said there, Claire, apart with one little comment. He has approximately 9 days for the club to activate his contract clause for next season to earn £1 million on his contract over the next 12 months. Do you think in 9 days he can do enough to make us want to stump up that level of cash?
No, I suppose you're right. I think he's a good finisher. I think he's a good finisher, and I think that he tries hard when he does what. Obviously, there's been whatever going on. I don't want to get into that if he's had mental health issues and stuff. But maybe a change is as good as a holiday, like you said about was it Rogic? So
yep.
Perhaps.
Well, there is an
See-
option C, Jarrod, which is that they don't activate it, but then negotiate an extension distinct from that.
Get
I
out
like
of
a
my
separate extension.
Get out of my head. I was just about to say that once Claire was finished.
Sorry,
I was gonna say-
cut you off at the knees.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like exactly. If he wants to re-sign for another year, a couple of years, with on a lesser wage, just to stay at the club, so he doesn't have to move. He doesn't have to move his family, any of that sort of stuff. Great, good on him. He's the best natural finisher we've got at the club, but yeah, on his current contract at the moment, nah, he can go.
I've just had enough of the pantomime, and the inference that from £1 million a year is that he's earning somewhere between 15 and 20,000 a week. No, not worth that for me.
He's not that 40 goals in a season striker he was under Ronnie. He hasn't done that for years. It was a good 3 or 4 month blast last season. That was it, where he's looked to get to those levels, but he's done nothing since.
Mm-hmm.
Albion Ayeti.
Keep, unless we can recoup our money.
So I second that.
It's a hat trick. All three of us were the same. I think he's got to get another shot under a different manager. But yeah, if we can get our money back, great.
Yeah, if we can break even, yes. But otherwise, keep. There's
Should have
something
just
there.
paid the extra $500,000 or whatever and brought Tony in. But, hindsight's an amazing thing, isn't it?
I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
The next one is apparently already left, Patrick Klimala.
Yeah, we discussed this a couple of weeks ago, and I fancied that he had a chance. But again, if we're breaking even, fine. As long as there's a sell-on clause, because I still think there's potential there.
Yep.
Yeah, same.
And the big one to end this little run through on, Odson Edouard. Someone convince me he's staying, please.
Nah, go. He's not interested anymore.
Yeah, you can leave.
On a personal level, I'm absolutely pissed that he's gone and dropped it this season, because I bought a top and I put his name and number up this season and he goes and does this shit to me.
Mm-hmm.
Fraud. There's your soundbite Rangers fans to take. He's been a fraud for us this season. Quality player, but
is he not literally the top scorer in the SPFL?
Yeah, but his standards not good enough.
That's quite scary that he's been so poor but still has that. Like,
I know,
in his luck, that's quite something.
So good is.
It is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I look at it and go, it's just not good enough. Like, he's a top scorer, but the work he's been doing, he just looks like half the time he can't be asked.
No, I don't disagree in any way. Like, he's so talented, but he's playing at 50 or 60% of his potential. He's dropped a level from last year, despite still being probably the best forward in Scotland. Sorry, not probably, definitely.
I mean, do you think that if, I'll put this one out, but do you think if Griffiths had took that penalty on Sunday, he'd have scored it? Just out of interest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do.
Griffiths looked, it's controversial, but Griffiths came on Sunday and actually was the one player that looked like he wanted to be there and try.
I think McGregor would have scored it. I think Turnbull would have scored it.
I think I could have probably scored it, but beside the point.
I think Scott Brown would have scored it. I don't know if you remember the spell where he took penalties a few years ago. Like, I think McGregor Edward was just too laconic and
arrogant.
And if you think back to the last,
that's saying something.
Yeah, no, maybe not Christy. But
calm down, Jarrod. Don't go that far yet.
You've taken that too far. But like, if you think about like when Samaras missed that penalty against McGregor as well at Ibrox, it's the same thing. It's just that kind of languid, laconic, arrogant style doesn't stand up to that situation.
True.
Yep. Agree. So So we've gone through that. So off the back of what we've just gone through, what do you guys think the new Celtic will look like? And we've just gone through the squad. So what sort of breakdown of players at each position do you think we're going to need to sign? I'll give you mine if you're thinking time.
Go ahead. We need 10 players, I think. Maybe more.
So, yeah, I'm saying a starting level goalkeeper, a starting right back, a left back to challenge Taylor to be a starter but could potentially be on the back, like as his backup. 2 centre halves, a right winger, unless Shred is that right winger. 2 centre mids, potentially a third if McGregor leaves. A left winger, probably a starting level one. So Mikey has to earn his spot. 2 centre forwards, if we're going to keep Bayo and a Yeti. And yeah, that's what I think we'll need. And then we'll see where we end up off the back of that.
I can't correct you there in any way. How many was that? Is that about
11? 10?
It's 11 players plus maybe 11, possibly 12 if McGregor leaves.
I feel like we're all in agreement here.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't realistically see us signing 2 centre halves. I think you're going to get a push with one, but yeah, other than that, I'd say needed. Definitely needed.
I think Benkovic is on the cards.
Yeah. The thing that gives me
I'd
the
take him
fear,
back.
if we buy Benkovic, bring him in, I've got the fear that they're going to like stump up for Duffy for a second season.
No.
Oh my God.
There's no chance that's happening. Even Duffy won't go for it. Duffy is so scarred from this experience. There's no way he even goes for it. You know,
The thing you got to look at with our centre back situation is if we bring in a starter, whether that's Benkovic, and then Julian will be back in September, October, something like that. But is he going to be ready?
It's more likely. Sorry, it's more likely that Leo Helde plays than Duffy.
Yeah.
We forgot about him, actually. That's a good point. I would
He's not
definitely
on the loan list. What's this about?
I definitely keep him. I would 100% keep him.
No, that's because I went to the first team. I didn't hit the reserve list because I left off.
Well, I'm saying keep. I'm saying keep.
Boy, Afalabi, get him in.
Yeah, Helde. I think. I hope Helde gets a chance next year. Yep. I don't expect him to play more than 15 games, but I hope he gets a chance and becomes. I'd rather he's honestly maybe go out in the first half of the season or second half. I don't know, but I'd like him to get a chance for a dozen games at Celtic. See what he's made of.
Helde, O'Connor, who started playing for Tranmere a bit more now, who's an Irish international. Get Afalabi in. Bring Luke O'Connell back in. They fill a few of those positions there that I said. I'd rather us spend 20, 30 million pound on 7 or 8 quality players, whether that's you get some free agents who you're topping up players with quality, like with a couple of free agents and then some transfers. Also, we've got Liam Shaw coming in. So is he going to be a defensive midfielder or a centre back? So we've got that option as well. So realistically, I think we need to sign 11 or 12 players, but if we factor in our guys who are out on loan at the moment, maybe we only need to, and they get given a second chance and they establish themselves, maybe we only need to sign 6 or 7 players. And if that's the case, it's 5 million a player. We can afford that, especially with the sales that are going to happen.
So I'll give you a thing. So do either of you follow the NFL?
Occasionally.
So there's like a theory that when you they have the draft to pull in players from the pool of available recruits, and there's two kind of strategies. One is like if you've already got a shit hot team, then you just trade away your picks and you just get someone that's a sure thing to improve your squad. But when you're doing a massive rebuild, what you do is you trade away. Like if you've got a high pick, you trade it away, and you get 3 or 4 picks. So what you're doing is you're having more darts to throw at the dartboard because every single player has risk of being a failure. And the higher up they are, the less risk, and the lower they are, the more risk. But the idea is that if you throw more darts at the dartboard, you're going to get more success during a rebuild. We're in a rebuild. Do you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but do you not take the quality though? Would you not have say 6? I say decent people rather than.
rewind back to September of this year, where we were all celebrating
Close.
the 6 decent quality players that we signed.
Who were they again?
Where we're celebrating it as the greatest transfer window we'd ever had. We were. Like, you can go back and find the podcast. We all were. Axum were doing it. We were doing it. We were all saying this is this best or second best transfer window we'd ever had, and it's been a failure. So there's no guarantee of success.
So you want to throw more darts out and just see, hidden gems type thing, perhaps?
Think back to Neil Lennon when we sold Aidan McGeady to get the cash to buy like whatever it was, 10, 11, 12 players. Some of them were complete flops, but then you had like your Izagiri, your Joe Ledley.
True.
That came out of that.
We'll go another one. Gareth Bale leaving Tottenham, and you look at all the players they bought. Eric Lamela was a flop, but then Christian Eriksen worked well for him, and a bunch of others that they bought worked well for him. So, yeah.
I like your theory, Sean. I do like the theory behind it. I do like it, but I just don't see Celtic doing it, unfortunately.
Now, I'll say something here, Sean, as well on your theory, because I'm a massive NBA fan, and my team, the Detroit Pistons, we were good for years, and then we went through a massive rebuild after dominating for 10 years. So it's a similar spot to where Celtic is now. Mm-hmm. And our 3 to 5 year rebuild is now going into year 12. So
yeah, like you need competence.
I'm kind of hoping that the people doing it are competent and know what they're doing.
Yeah. You definitely need competent management. That's why the Cleveland Browns have been a shit show for so long. But nobody remembers. Everyone remembers the Wanyama and the Van Dijk, but they don't remember the Rasmussen or the Michu. Do you know what I mean? So if you sign 12 or 15 players and you get a few successes, that's the ones that you remember. If you sign just 6 players that are all have pedigree and look, if you look back, only one of the 6 succeeded. So that's why, in hindsight, that was a disaster of a transfer window. Yeah. Whereas if we signed 12
I see your point.
Yeah. If we'd signed 12...
I would love Celtic to have that common sense. I would love Celtic to have that amount of common sense.
Well, the thing is, we've been talking about it for years now, as the director of football comes in and you have a guy in the team like Calmac, and you know that he's getting burnt out. Potentially you want to move him on. He might want to move on. So yeah, you bet in his replacement for a year or two before he moves on. And then you got a ready-made guy that go step in, and then you get a new replacement to come in. It's the same. You do it your centre back. It's the same with Dembele left, and we had Edouard there. Now Edouard's moving on. Who's behind him ready to step in?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. That's what the director of football should be coming in and to structure and set that up so that in the future we don't have to go and find 12 players. If we have 3 players move on, we've got guys ready-made to step in, and then we've just got to find the next replacement. The replacement's a replacement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big club mentality, which we don't have.
Yep. Well, get out Peter Law and let's get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Celtic, Aberdeen tonight. So it's 4:45 a.m. Melbourne time. What's that? 2:45 for you, Sean? Claire, you've got in with local time for you. So happy days.
Can't wait. Can you sense the sarcasm?
Oh yeah, heaps. What are you expecting to see in that game?
Some youngsters and a wee bit of fight would be helpful. Just something. Basically, I just don't want to get beat. Put it that way. I don't want it to be embarrassing again.
Yeah, I'm looking for how Scott Brown versus Shea Logan goes. I actually think Shea Logan might be injured, but
he's at Hearts on loan, so there goes that idea.
Oh shit. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm not getting
Lewis Ferguson. Let's see them clutter each other. There you go.
Yeah.
Shea Logan did a runner when Scott Brown signed for Aberdeen.
Yeah, well, you're right. Yeah. No, I'm not getting out of bed for it. Put it that way. I'll watch it in the morning. It's the last 2 games have been 1-0. So come on. I'm not going to get up at 2:45 in the morning to watch that on a school night. No, but I think it's going to be the same. I think it'll probably 1-0, one each, something like that. I don't think anyone's going to be trying to put their legs on the line to try and get a result. It's basically instead of a pre-season friendly, it's almost like an end of season friendly.
2-1 Celtic win, and Griff with the winner. There you go. Just for you, Claire.
Thank you.
There's a good chance you start, I'd say.
Yeah, well, we could score. They'll score first, then we score 2. And then by 13, 14 minutes in the game, that's it. It's ugly football the rest of the way. Perfect.
Yeah, but it's almost like last chance saloon for Griff. You know what I mean? Just like, right, This is it. Tonight, this is it. You know, if you don't do it tonight, you can piss off and that's it. That's the end.
Yep. So we'll figure it all out, see what happens. Now, before we end the podcast, European Super League. I'll throw it to you, Claire, to give your opinion on what's happened this week. Then me and Sean will give our little opinions off the end of that. And then we'll call it the end of the podcast. All right, so over to you.
Last sort of 48 hours have been a bit harem-scarum on like media point of view. Sky Sports News has just imploded. It's great. I have just been informed that AC Milan have withdrew as well. So
that's news.
It's a case of, in my opinion, and I just football snobbery at its best. We're priced. Celtic as a team, like I'm not saying obviously we can't compete, but we get priced out so much anyway because of English football and whatever. But European Super League I think is just a bit ridiculous. I mean, pricing even more clubs out of the market. I mean, it's taking all the excitement, this is not exciting for me, and I think it's just a bit of a ridiculous proposition. And the fact that all the teams are now, they've went full circle and they're all starting to drop out one by one. I think AC Milan only dropped out about 20 minutes ago or something, from what I can see.
I'm seeing 8 out of 12 teams have withdrawn.
8 now? I think that's...
I've not got the names. I'll just
the established teams, Atletico Madrid and AC Milan.
It's just a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. I just think it's unrealistic, very much unrealistic. I mean, I look at the new Champions League format and that excites me more than the Super League does. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's a good idea. And I know they're going to say, you've heard Cantona and probably whoever else say, but it's been boring and it's been this and it's been that. Yeah, but COVID wasn't predicted, or, you can't write this kind of stuff that's happened. So tough shit, get on with it. We want fans and we want passion, we want excitement. I don't want a European Super League to watch a bunch of pansies kick a ball about and, that are overpaid and overrated. No thanks. It's all right.
I think it's a bit boring. Sorry, Sean. If he thinks it's a bit boring, well, guess what? How about they stop putting 5 teams from England in and actually put the proper champs in from everywhere? Over to you, Sean.
Yeah, no, I was a couple of thoughts on it, really, to be honest. And I was like, my initial reaction was indignation, like much of the world. But then after I kind of settled down, I was like, I wanted them to do it, and not for the reasons that everyone else, not for the reasons that they wanted to do it. I wanted them to do it because I knew it would be the death of them. So I wanted them to walk the plank and die. I wanted all those teams to walk the plank and die. Now, I'm a casual Man United fan and always have been because of family history, but not anymore. Like, I'll still watch a Man United game if it's on, and I'll still cheer a goal if they score. But, my wife is under instructions now to not buy me any more Man United merchandise for my birthdays or anything like that. I don't want them to have any more of my money. I'm not financially supporting them in any way ever again. Like, I'll go and buy a Queen's Park. Congratulations to Queen's Park on winning League 2. I'll buy your tops every year rather than giving my money to Man United. I'm already pissed off at the Champions League and have been for a long time at the quote-unquote Champions League, where 15 of the 32 teams are champions. less than half. The only way you can get up to half is if champions of, so say Celtic, for example, won the Europa League, then they would qualify automatically. That doesn't work. If the second place team in the Netherlands or Scotland won the Europa League and got straight in to the Champions League, no, it doesn't work either. Basically, you can only have.
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Yeah. I know what you were getting at.
I'm trying to work my way around it, but there's only 15 spots for champions in this Champions League, so that's less than half. So it's not a Champions League. And then when they change it to 36, that's going to be an even smaller percentage of champions. I would prefer it going the opposite direction, and I'm also withdrawing my financial support in any way that I can for Champions League football. Not that I can do much to affect that. I do think that if this Super League had gone ahead, it would have survived for a few years on the basis that fans who do not attend games would have still supported it. And I'm talking about football tourists / fans overseas. So basically the Asian market. So the Asian market would have propped it up for a few years, and the European market would have withdrawn from the concept, and eventually there would have been a kind of an acceptance that this was a bad idea, and they would have remerged and things like that. But I really did, to be totally honest, I wanted them to do it, but not because I wanted it to succeed, because I wanted to see it fail.
That's brilliant. For me, it was heard about it. I'm like, what a shambles this is. And then, as you said, Sean, you just like, you sit on it for a bit, you stew on it, you figure it out. And I'm just like, the condemnation straight away from the fans and former players was great to see. It's amazing that can be done. Now, can we get the same level of buy-in from everyone, former players and fans and everything, for things like financial fair play, racism, and other ongoing issues like that, things like flares and, battering people outside of stadiums in some of the Eastern European countries? Like, can we all get on board and clean it up across the board? Further to that, as an Australian with the A-League, they're saying it's a boring game, the European Super League, because there's no promotion, there's no relegation, games won't mean anything down the end of the season, where, if you've got two teams, a team in second, a team in first, and they're 10 points apart, and there's no way you can jump the team above you. Watching those teams battling relegation or trying to qualify for Europe is a great thing. But it's exciting football. But you won't get that in this league. And over here in Australia, we've got the A-League, where we don't have that issue as well. So we don't have it, and it gets a bit boring. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. Our league's had been around 16, 17 years, something like that. No promotion, no relegation, and yeah, I know exactly what this feels like. And like my team, my local team over here, they're dead last for the first, probably getting the wooden spoon for the first time ever. We should be getting relegated. That's what I've grown up with. I'm a Melbourne Victory season ticket holder, and I actually wish we were getting relegated based on the season we've had, but we don't have that over here. So it's just ridiculous.
The other thing that pissed me off as well was the hypocrisy of Agnelli when he came out and said he actually used Celtic and Rangers as the lead teams in his statement about whatever list of teams he ran through. Like, Champions League needs Celtic, Rangers, I don't remember, Benfica. I can't remember what other teams he said. And I was like, what's this guy talking about? He is literally 2-3 days ago made it more difficult for teams like Celtic and Sevco. And when he said Rangers, I guess he meant Sevco, to get into the Champions League. It was already very, very, very difficult, and he's even made it more difficult. And then he's gone away proselytizing, stating that he wants these teams and he needs these teams. And it's like, well, why the hell are you making it more difficult for us then? There's no, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so difficult for a Scottish team to get into the Champions League already. It's going to be even more difficult. And then he's using us as a poster child for his fight against the European Super League. Well, don't use us as your poster child if you're just going to shit on us once these guys come back to the table. Do you know what I mean? Like, that pissed me off, the hypocrisy.
2 thumbs up to that one, Sean. I agree. Anything else you want to add on that, Claire, before we start to wind down the podcast?
No. It's hard enough for Celtic and them to get into the Champions League and make any kind of mark on it anyway. So, like what Sean said, why make it more difficult? I agree with what he's saying. So,
how would you feel if we went straight back to the only champions knockout? Back to what it was.
Is it a bit more exciting?
I think it would make if you seeded it, I think it would make every game from last 16 on like the final. Because in the moment,
if you seeded it, it would make it.
Yeah, because at the moment you've got your Champions League final, right? But if you seeded it, and then basically from the last 16, last 8 teams, every game is like a final. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously they're losing out on, 40 games or whatever, featuring Barcelona versus Cluj or whatever. They're losing out on these broadcasting 5 Barcelona games or whatever it is. But those Barcelona games are against Cluj and against Bucharest and whatever. If they made it just champions, and seeded it, when you get to your last 16, last 8, you're getting these huge games. Do you know what I mean? Like, where it's literally the champions of England versus the champions of Portugal, and the champions of Spain versus the champions. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no dilution of. I don't know. That's just me. It's just pie in the sky, really.
I know what you're saying.
The Intertoto Cup.
Sorry?
Intertoto Cup. Remember that? Oh my god!
Like, also, bring back the Winners' Cup.
But wouldn't it also add some gravitas to the Europa League? Other, apart from the champions, everyone's in Europa League. Do you know what I mean? Like if you want to have your AC Milan versus Man United every year, it's in the Europa League. There it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, because
win your
Man
league
City,
and then come back to the big boys.
Yeah, look, Man City have won their league, so they're off playing against your likes of Barcelona and Bayern Munich or whoever, and AC Milan and Man United are still having this heavyweight clash from the outside looking in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. So, Sean, do you want to do a higher or lower game to finish off?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Okay, so Claire, you've not done one of these before. So the way it works is that I'll tell you, I'll give you a player and give you a stat, and then I'll give you another player, and you say whether their stat is higher or lower than the previous one. It's basically like play your cards right with Bruce Forsyth. So it's not we're not sticking to the original one as the benchmark. It's the previous one.
Okay.
So based on the topics we discussed today, I did a little research on Celtic players who have served their time and moved on. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I'm basically going to tell you how many games they've played, and you tell me if it's higher or lower than the one before who served their time. So to just give you a little context on the numbers, Scott Brown is at about 615 games, something like that, for Celtic. Paul McStay was 515 games. Henrik Larsson was 313. Jeremy Frimpong was 51. And Liam Miller was 44. So that's just your context setting. Okay?
Yep.
Make sense? So they're the ones that I thought were more extremes of stayed on and left early.
Okay.
So the first one to set the benchmark is someone who's going to be leaving probably this year is Odsonne Edouard, who is on, so I've not actually updated this in a few weeks, about 167 games for Celtic. So starting one, Odsonne Edouard, 167 games. Victor Wanyama, did he play more or less games than Odsonne Edouard?
Less.
Less.
Yeah, he played fewer games. It was 91. So Wanyama only played 91 games before he'd served his time and moved on. Get the idea? Yeah. Okay. So next one up, more or less than Wanyama, is Musa Dembele.
Higher?
Less.
It's higher. He played more games. He played 94. Dembele played more games. Clear takes the lead. Okay. More or less than Dembele, Virgil van Dijk.
Less.
Higher?
More. He played 115. So Van Dijk played 115 games before he served his time and moved on. Next one, Ryan Christie.
Higher.
I think higher as well. But
Yeah, again, I'd not fully updated it, but he is about 140 at the moment.
we can stay at 140 and leave.
So, next one up, Stuart Armstrong.
Higher.
Less.
He's just higher, 144. So he played just a few more games before he moved on.
I was going to say maybe games higher, so it was pretty close.
You were actually, yeah.
So the next one, including loan spells, Fraser Foster.
It's heaps higher.
Yeah, that is
At
higher.
190 something, I reckon.
Yeah, 236 he's played. And to give a contrast, before he moved on, how many games higher or lower compared to Artur Boric?
So he'd probably be lower than Boric still, but only just.
Yeah, same.
Artur Boric played fewer games than Fraser Foster.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah, Forster's 236 games for Celtic. Artur Boric only 192.
You've just blown my mind.
Yeah, because
That one's actually a weird one. I did not think that at all.
I know exactly, because we all gave Forster shit for not coming back, but he played more games than Boric, and nobody resents Boric for leaving when he did.
Well, we forgive Boric everything for what he did at Ibrox.
Yeah. So next one up, Gary Hooper, more or less than Boric's 192.
More.
Less.
It is significantly less, 138.
I said more, and then straight away I'm like, "Are you idiot?"
And next up, more or less than Gary Hooper's 138 is Joe Ledley.
More. Just.
Less. Just less.
It's more, 157. And more or less than Joe Ledley's 157, Aidan McGeady.
More.
Less.
He played 200 games. So McGeady
Dead
played
on
200 games.
200.
So he played 200, exactly. So more. And the last one, did this player play more or less games than Aidan McGeady before moving on? Kieran Tierney.
Oh, it's a tough one because he was hurt quite a bit.
I was going to say less, but I'll go with less just to...
I'm going to go more. No, I'm going to say exactly the same.
I knew you were going to do something like that.
You think I was chucking that one in the works?
And Sean's done it.
Yes, it's a trick one. It's going to be like 200 or something.
Full credit for knowing me well, Jarrod, but unfortunately it's not. It is less. Kieran Tierney played fewer games than Aidan McGeady, 170. So we got more from Kieran Tierney than we did from... So of that list of players who you would classify as served their time before moving on, Fraser Foster was top, Aidan McGeady was second, and then you had Boric, Tierney, Ledley, and it goes down from there. So sometimes it's a bit deceptive, whether players have served their time or not.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense also when you get someone like Tierney who debuted at 16, it's kind of like you forget what it's like. But then if you get someone like Dembele coming in who only needs a season or two, well, it's kind of like Yeah, it's like apples and oranges there. But yeah, thanks, Sean. That was good fun. Claire, you absolutely smashed me on that. Well done.
Sure did.
Thank you.
All right. So just before we finish up, just if anyone's listening to the podcast and you haven't already done it, please subscribe to Celtic Down Under podcast via your podcast app. Also on Facebook, we have a group and a page. Instagram and Twitter, you can get us at Celtic Down. And then there's a website, www.celticdownunder.com. Hope everyone enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully next week we've got a manager and a director of football in place, and Don Mackay's just dominating life in the East End of Glasgow. But watch this space and see where we end up. How?
Hell.
Yeah.